Okay, how's everybody doing this evening? Of course, my name is Kent, and the channel is EOS San Diego. And in San Diego, we definitely are in winter time, so it may not seem like that to most people around the country, but we do have a winter here in San Diego, and today it was one of those days. I think it rained over 2 inches today in San Diego. So it's been a very cold, wintry day in San Diego for San Diego weather. But besides that, I want to talk a little bit about EOS, and obviously the huge drop again today, over 20%. I think we're down below $1.75, and we may slip below $1 here very soon, the way it's going, because it doesn't seem like there's any end in sight to this. But I want to talk a little bit about why I believe it's dropping so far, and really the psychology behind it, and also just kind of really make the case for EOS. Just make the case for EOS. That's what I'm gonna call the videos, make the case for EOS, a case for EOS. Because right now, EOS is dropping so low, so fast, because we still have the mindset as investors, as value investors, there has to be something to legitimately invest in. And that's the reason why Warren Buffett and Benjamin Graham, who wrote the book Value Investors, or Value Investing, or whatever the name of that book was, always looks for assets in companies to determine the value of a company. So if you're investing in General Motors, there's always a certain level of worth there, because General Motors owns hard assets. They own physical plants, they own property, and they own God only knows whatever else, but they have a lot of value in the investment world as far as being able to liquidate things. That's what happened with so many companies in the United States, and I think that's why so many people think the jobs left. The jobs didn't really leave. What happened was that people came into the stock market, bought up a controlling interest in these stocks, and then they liquidated the companies. That's called the corporate raiders. They just came in and liquidated the company. So in other words, if a company has a stock value of $1 million, but they actually have assets on the balance sheet worth maybe 10 million, you buy up the stock, you liquidate the assets, you send the jobs overseas, and you make a profit, a really nice profit. That's the way the corporate structure works. It liquidates assets. It tries to take over through the stock market, through corporate raiders, getting controlling the interest of the board of the stock market, and then liquidating those assets, and then outsourcing that, or doing it cheaper, or getting rid of middle management, or whatever they do. This is the idea of a Warren Buffett. This is an idea of so many people that have played the market for so long. And when you look at a company like EOS, there really isn't any value investment in EOS, because EOS doesn't own anything. EOS is an open source software platform that is literally, they don't have any proprietary. Everything's just open source. They're giving away the software. So when somebody like a Warren Buffett looks at something like EOS, obviously he sees zero value, because he doesn't see anything you can sell. He doesn't see any vehicles to liquidate. He doesn't see any buildings to sell. He doesn't see anything to do. I mean, that's a zero value for those guys. And that's the way they value something like EOS, is zero, because there's nothing there. It's just basically an idea. And an idea that has no assets to liquidate. So that's why you see guys like Warren Buffett will stay completely away from technology. Even Microsoft or any of these companies, maybe not now, because obviously they've accumulated a lot over the years, but in the beginning he stayed away from this stuff because he didn't see any value investment. He's made his billions by value investing, of which in these technology companies there isn't much value. So that's why EOS is so down, so far, so low, because anybody that looks at this from a value investment standpoint won't see any value there. However, if you look at it from a technology side, a technology point of view, now you start to see where we're going. So in other words, you could look at Uber and say Uber doesn't really have any paper value. They don't have any cars. Uber doesn't have any, maybe they have some buildings by this time, or maybe they own some physical real estate at this time, but overall Uber doesn't own much. I mean, they don't own anything at all, but yet they're a billion dollar company. But for people like Warren Buffett to understand that, they have to see that there's value there. So right now, what is going on is people trying to determine if there's value in EOS. Does EOS have any value? Is it an Uber? Is what it does make sense? Because there's nothing else there besides the software and the platform, and of course the developers and this committee or this community that they have organized, and the blockchain going and recording information. That's all they have right now. Will that be successful? Will that take off? Will that be something to turn around? That is what the question is right now. You know, there's another thing Warren Buffett always says, and of course even though I'm not a big fan of Warren Buffett, I actually admire him, and I watched him for a number of years. Actually went to school in the same city in which he lives. I mean, he's from Omaha, Nebraska. That's where I went to school, in Omaha, Nebraska. So I've always watched Warren Buffett from afar. Wished I would have bought the stock a long time ago, but I wasn't quite that clever. But Buffett has another saying that you know who's swimming nude when the tide goes out. Okay, that's what we're finding out right now. We've got all these blockchain companies. Nobody can raise any money because the market is completely tanked. No ICOs, nothing. You know, and even if you did run an ICO right now and you got a little bit of money raised, it's not going to do very well. I mean, there is nobody pouring money into blockchain right now. So whatever technology comes out of this time is going to be technology that stands alone on its own, that's able to support itself without accumulating a lot of investment dollars, or maybe investment dollars that are hyped, that people are just throwing money at things without actually anything being done there. We're trying to find the value here, and you're not going to find the value in the assets. We're going to have to find the value in the technology, and that's what's happening. Trying to figure out what is going to work in the near future, or what's going to work in the future of blockchain. Who can make something work? Who can make the next Uber? Who can make something happen from this technology? And that's what we're ready to find out. And I think for people to understand this technology, they need to be a little bit more educated on it. And that's the thing I think EOS fights right now, is the fact that not so many people understand the blockchain. Maybe a few people start to understand Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, but very few people actually understand the blockchain and even can give it a fair evaluation. So that's how come you had so much hype in the market. That's why things get hyped, and that's why things get talked up, and that's why people actually overvalue things, because it's oversold, because somebody comes out and says, oh, we've got the next Uber, or we've got the next this, or we've got the next that. Everything in the world is gonna, we're gonna change everything. We're gonna change the world with this next technology, but we don't know what that technology is yet, and we don't know where that technology is going to, what platform it's going to exist on. Everybody who watches my channel happens to know that I believe that EOS is that next technology. They know that I think that everything's going to be built on the blockchain, and that this will be the technology that ends up being, the most valuable technology in the world, the most valuable real estate in the world on the internet, the most valuable digital real estate, let's say, not physical real estate. There's a difference between the digital physical world right now. We are moving more to the digital world than the physical world, and that's what that's what's happening. But we're going to find out real quickly what's going to happen. I think EOS probably will drop down below $1. I think it may be there for a little bit of time, but some things will start to be built, some things will start to be released, and we'll be very, very, very soon that we'll start to see some major technologies come out of this. And when we see major technologies come out of this, then people will start jumping aboard, and they will jump aboard in big ways. And then we won't be talking about if it breaks below $1. We'll be talking about when it reaches $100, like I predicted in the past, which I still am predicting. So anybody that thinks I have given up on my $100 party, think again, because I haven't, because it will be $100. Because we'll go through this phase. In fact, this is a phase we have to go through. There has to be a time where everybody questions everything, and that's what we're in right now. Everything's being questioned, and nobody's raising any money. What's really going on right now is this is a time of not raising money. When we went through the time of everybody doing an ICO, now we're going through a time where no one can do an ICO. We did a time where whoever launched a token, it just immediately took off. Now we're in a time where that's not the case. So we're going through that time of trying to figure out what technology, what's going to work, what's going to happen on the blockchain, and who's going to be the players in the blockchain. I happen to believe EOS will be the player. I happen to believe that EOS is going to be a big winner in all this at the end of it. But we're going through that time right now. We have to figure that out, and we are figuring that out. And the market will figure that out. The market will figure it out by way it's doing right now. and the time will pass, and then we'll be back into the next phase of people speculating again and trying to figure out, they'll speculate and they'll be making, those vast returns like people saw with Bitcoin and Ethereum and all those other winners. But that's what it is. That's what it is. That's what's going on right now. We're going through a time where people are seeking trying to figure out what's going to happen in the future, and it will come about fairly quickly when it does happen, and that will be the time to be involved. So stay tuned. I happen to think EOS is going to be the one that's going to make it, but we'll see what happens. Thank you.